This is a story about a boy who had the memory of another person died in another time. This child is Ryo, who ended up in the care of the bandits after his father and mother died. He endured to live in a difficult situation so that one day he can avenge his mother's death. The story begun while Haruto was riding the bus and thinking about his promises to his childhood friend, Miharu, before they separated, since they met again after a few years. He noticed a girl looking at him and there was also a woman next to her. Suddenly, they had an accident and Haruto woke up in Ryo's body. Ryo was confused because he had the memory of another person and thought that it might be because of his fever the other day. The three men who were taking care of him came. They were carrying a sack and put it aside. They sent Ryo away because he smelled bad and it affected their appetite to eat. While he was outside, 4 women asked him if he had seen a woman with purple hair. Because Ryo didn't know anything, a woman named Celia approached him and asked for other information about the place. Celia used her power to know if there was a magic response in the area. Then she discovered that there was a strong magic hidden in Ryo's body. They were surprised because Ryo was just a low-class person, but he possessed magic. Before they left, Celia gave Ryo silver as a gratitude for the information he provided. To hide it, Ryo put it in a small bag which he wore on his neck and returned to the house. When he opened the door, the masked man suddenly stabbed him, but it only hit the silver. The man was about to attack him again when a woman appeared and called him Haruto. The woman did something to him so he could use his magic and his physical abilities that Haruto learned. Even if the man had used magic, he still could not hit Ryo until he was easily defeated by him. Ryo saw the sack moving, so he opened it and saw Flora, who was a princess and the one Celia and others was looking for. She fainted when she saw the dead man next to her. Ryo took her out and they were seen by Celia, and Christina, who was also a princess, approached them. While Celia and Rona were healing Flora, Vanessa talked to Ryo and told him to come with them for the investigation. Ryo thought that it would be fine, so he went along, but he was beaten by the guard to confess about the incident. The kingdom's soldiers captured the man who fought Ryo, but the unknown man killed him. Flora woke up and immediately sent Vanessa and Celia to get Ryo. When they took Ryo, Celia healed him. When Ryo woke up, Celia informed him that the king wanted to see him to formally thank him for saving Flora. Because of this, he was awarded a scholarship and was able to study at Beltram Royal Academy, a school for the rich in their kingdom. In his first day, his classmates, especially Alphonse, did not like him. After class, Ryo went to Celia's room because she offered to help him study. One day while in swordsmanship class, their teacher asked him for a duel. Ryo was able to use Haruto's knowledge in using the sword that surprised his classmates. Even their teacher was amazed of his skill. Ryo also learned the lessons easily because of Haruto's memories of being a college student. As long as he could understand what was written, he easily answered everything. When the exam came, Ryo was able to answer the questions. When the results of the exam came out, he was able to rank equally with top 1, Princess Christina. Alphonse could not accept the result, but Christina and Rona reprimanded him, so he stopped picking on Ryo. 5 years later, Ryo was chosen among the students for the exhibition tournament against the Knights of the Kingdom. According to Celia, he might be hired to become a Knight of the Kingdom if he performs well in the tournament. But according to Ryo, he had no intention of joining and planned to leave after he finished his studies. He wanted to go to his parents' homeland in Yagumo region. When the exhibition tournament came, he fought against Charles Arbor, who had beaten him before. Charles took this exhibition seriously, for he was angry at Ryo as he was the reason for his demotion. But Ryo still managed to keep up with him until he defeated Charles. After the exhibition tournament, some girls started to approach Ryo. Charles talked to Reese, the ambassador of the Proxy Empire, who killed Ryo's opponent 5 years ago. Then he found out that the reason for the defeat of the person he sent was Ryo. One day they had an outdoor practicum in the forest. On their way they encountered goblins and quickly defeated them. Meanwhile, Ryo sensed someone in the distance and this surprised Reese. Because of this, Reese wanted to test Ryo's true abilities. When the students arrived at their destination, they didn't expect it to be a cliff. Suddenly the orcs came and someone accidentally pushed Flora to the cliff. She was immediately saved by Ryo, causing him to fall into the cliff instead. After they defeated all the orcs, Stuart accused Rio of being responsible for pushing Flora. Rio overheard their conversation, so he decided not to show up to them. He planned to graduate, but he thought it would be better for him to leave the kingdom. Suddenly, a big monster appeared, and because they couldn't defeat it, they ran. Flora was left to heal one of their companions, but the monster saw them. The monster was about to attack them when Rio came to their rescue and cut off one of the monster's arms. The monster continued to attack, but Rio had a chance to kill it. When Christina arrived, Rio immediately left before they could see him. Reese thought that Rio might be from the Yagumo region because of his black hair and its ability to use spirit arts, which was disturbing for him. Celia heard the conversation between Garcia, the school director, and Gustavi, Stuart's father. Gustavi wanted to put the blame onto Rio regarding Flora's accident on the cliff. Since Garcia wanted to avoid the possible trouble, he agreed on Gustavi. Rio returned to Celia's room to say goodbye and promised to write using the name Haruto. Gustavi ordered the beastkin, Latifa, to find and kill Rio. When Rio arrived in the neighboring kingdom, he felt that someone was following him, but he ignored it at first. In a store, he met the saleswoman, Lot, who was surprised after seeing his black hair. Lot guided him in choosing what to bring on the trip. After he finished shopping, he immediately left the place. On his journey, he saw Latifa lying on the ground, and when he came to help her, she suddenly attacked him. Rio was hit and got poisoned, but he easily removed it from his body. Latifa could not believe Rio's speed even though he was only a normal person. Rio noticed that Latifa was only using a knife, so he aimed at it to disarm her. After he defeated Latifa, she seemed to be devastated and cried. Rio made her asleep, then he noticed the collar on her neck. Since Rio read about it, he tried and successfully removed it from her. She turned out to be Endo Suzune, who was with Haruto on the bus. Like Haruto, her memory went to Latifa, who was a slave of Stuart family. When she woke up, Rio found out about Latifa's mission from Gustavi's order. Before Rio left, he told Latifa the place called the Wilderness where people like Latifa live. But she still followed Rio, so he let Latifa go with him. When Rio cooked pasta, he was surprised when Latifa called it spaghetti. Rio thought about the possibility that they were in the same situation. He further confirmed it when he heard her mention Tokyo in her sleep. They end up near a forest with a big tree, but he wondered why she could not see it. One night while Latifa was sleeping, Rio saw a wolf outside. A flash of bright light took Rio's vision temporarily, then 4 demi-humans appeared in front of him. 2 of them managed to approach Latifa, and when they confirmed that a magic was used to put her to sleep, one of them attacked Rio. Since Rio could not see, he struggled to fight until he was hit by an attack that knocked him unconscious. Rio had a dream of the woman who helped him and called him Haruto. According to the woman, he and Haruto were connected and he only belonged to Haruto. When Rio woke up, he talked to one of the leaders, Ursula, and the demi-humans who attacked him apologized, namely Uzuma, Orphea, Alma and Sarah. The next day, he was invited to meet the other leaders, Sildora and Dominic. While they were talking, Dryas, the spirit of the world tree, appeared. According to Dryas, she could feel a spirit inside Rio's body. When Dryas looked at it, she was surprised to confirm that it was also a person-shaped spirit like her. She added that this might be one of the 6 great spirits who was lost 1,000 years ago after the Divine Demon War. During his 1-year stay there, he learned a lot. Meanwhile, Reese and his companion went to the nest of wyverns and they stole 1 egg from it. While holding the Grand Spirit Festival, Rio was blessed and recognized friend of their race and Latifa as a resident of the area. The number of Rio's girlfriends also increased. Rio decided to tell Latifa his schedule to leave. He wanted her to stay, but she did not agree and walked out on him. While Reese's companion rested, Reese went out to investigate the area. He gave him something that once swallowed would help Reese track him easily. After he left, he saw the wyverns approaching. Dryas and the leaders sensed a strange reaction within the barrier. They immediately scouted the area and saw the companion of Reese. They also noticed the egg he was carrying, but the man was able to escape. But the wyverns saw him and they found out the type of egg he was carrying. While the wyverns were not in the cave, Reese took the opportunity to steal their eggs. Because Reese no longer needed his companion, he crushed the red object, causing the man to die while the wyvern and the others were chasing him. Latifa saw this, but the wyvern came and attacked her. When Rio found out what was happening, he immediately thought of Latifa and left. Alma came to help and asked Latifa to face the wyvern while she prepared to attack. But when the wyvern was about to crush Latifa, Rio saved her. He fought the wyvern and defeated it, causing the other wyverns to leave. The next day, Rio and Latifa talked again and she agreed to stay in the village. She also told Rio that she was from another time, and Rio told her that they were the same. Before leaving, he was given a new sword and cloak. Sildora also gave him the space-time cache and he used it to store his things. After 2 weeks of travel, Rio reached the Yagumo region. He asked for help from a girl named Ruri if he could talk to the head of the village, who turned out to be its grandmother. Rio talked to the head of the village, Yuba, telling her that he wanted to fulfill his mother's promise to show him the Yagumo region and gave his parents a proper burial since they were both born in the area. When Rio mentioned the name of his parents, she recognized them easily because his father was Yuba's son. Yuba accompanied him to his parents' burial ground. According to Yuba, his parents secretly left their place. Since they did not know if they're still alive, they made a grave for them. Rio asked about his parents' reason for leaving. Yuba could not tell him yet, but she would tell him when it's time. Rio met Seo's brother, Shin, and took him for hunting in the forest. He also made a bathing area with his power. Because Rio had done a lot of work in the village, he impressed many girls. One day, Gon, the son of the head of the neighboring village, came because they encountered a problem while delivering supplies to the kingdom. Yuba gave them a place to stay, and on their way to the place, they met Rio. Gon kicked Rio's leg, but he got hurt instead. Rio gave Ruri something called a protective amulet to put in the corner of their room. Hayate, who was a tax examiner, came to the village and stayed at Yuba's house. One night, Gon entered the room of Ruri, so the amulet given to her reacted immediately. Because of this, Rio came and beat up Gon. Hayate stopped Rio, and when Gon admitted what he did, Hayate took action to punish Gon. Rio realized that he was acting more based on Haruto's feelings and seemed forgetting his plan to avenge his mother. He apologized for what he did the other night, but Yuba and the others were even thankful for Rio's protection. The day came to deliver the harvests of the village with Gon and his companions to the royal capital. Before Hayate left, Yuba asked him to give the letter to his father, Goki. When they arrived at the kingdom, Rio saved a woman from being abducted. After that, they immediately left to avoid getting involved in any trouble. After Hayate gave the letter to his father and read it, they immediately went to Rio. Rio found out from Goki and his wife, Kyoko, that his mother, Ayame, was actually a princess in the kingdom of Karasuki. Guoki was with his father Zen in the war. He recommended Zen to be Ayame's personal guard, then the two fell in love. When the Rokuran prince visited their kingdom, he took a liking to Ayame and tried to abduct her. But it did not happen because Zen came to her rescue. The prince thought of a way to blame Zen for the alleged death of his servant and demanded his execution as well as the marriage of Ayame to him. That's why the king, Ayame's father, was forced to secretly let the two of them escape from the kingdom. Guoki took Rio to the palace to meet the king and queen. Rio told them the story of his life with his mother and after her death. He wanted to avenge his mother against her killer, Lucius, who was an adventurer and his father's colleague. Because of this, the king wanted Rio and Guoki to have a duel to prepare him in case he meet Lucius. They also found out that it was Rio who saved their daughter. When the fight started, Guoki did not expect Rio to be that strong. So he used the air slash, but Rio easily defeated it. They could not believe that he defeated Guoki, and according to the king it seemed Rio no longer need to train anymore. They returned to the village and told Ruri his true identity. According to Rio, he planned to leave the village after a year and return to the Strahl region. When Seo found out, she was saddened by this, so Shin begged Rio to stay in the village, but it's no use. Seo trained herself because he planned to go with Rio when he leave. The day before Rio leave the village, Seo confessed her love to Rio and said that she was ready to go with him. But according to Rio, he did not feel the same way towards her. When Rio was about to leave, Seo said goodbye to him properly. On his journey, he passed Seirei no Tami and was greeted by Latifa and others. He informed the leaders that he would be staying for a few months before proceeding to Strahl region. One morning when he woke up, he was surprised to find a girl next to him. According to this woman, she was a spirit, but she could not remember much, even her own name. She wanted Rio to give her a name and he thought of the name Aisha. Rio brought Aisha to the leaders so Dryas could find out what kind of spirit she is. When Dryas arrived, she was not sure which spirit Aisha belonged to. They asked Aisha what element she could use. They were surprised to know that she could use all the elements. Because of this, Dryas asked Rio to fight Aisha to know if she was telling the truth. When the fight started, Aisha was able to keep up with Rio and true enough, she was able to use different elements. Due to the intense battle, Dryas ordered them to stop for they might damage their place. Before the day of Rio's departure, Latifa talked to him. They found out that they were on the same bus that had an accident. Before Rio and Aisha left, he received a teleportation crystal and an earring that can change the color of his hair. Rio could use it in the Stral region because he was considered an enemy there. Meanwhile, Celia was getting married to Charles Arbor. When they arrived at Beltrant, Rio was surprised that the people increased in the area. According to the shopkeeper, a wedding would take place from the family of Arbor, that's why people from other kingdoms came. At night they went to Celia's room but her things were gone. Aisha used her power to control a person in the other room so Rio could talk to him. Then he found out that Celia was to be married to Charles Arbor. Aisha found Celia's room and informed Rio. So he went to see her and she was happy to see him too. They talked about the upcoming wedding but she did not want Rio to come. They both knew what kind of person Charles Arbor was, and this made Rio worried. Celia was also worried that the guards might come, so she immediately sent Rio away. When Rio talked to Aisha, he told her that he did not see Celia's true feelings. On the day of the wedding, Reese visited Charles. While they were talking, he felt that there was a very strong spirit around. After Charles introduced his other wives to Celia, Christina visited Celia to talk to her. Christina apologized to Celia because she could not do anything to bring back her old smiles. While at the wedding parade, Aisha talked to Celia using telepathy. She was told that Rio was around and cried when she saw him. Before they could get off the carriage, Rio rushed and quickly defeated the soldiers. He easily reached the carriage and punched Charles. He took Celia as hostage and spoke to her using telepathy to tag along with the act. Reese remembered Rio so he wanted to try something to see if it was the same person. He let out a strong attack but Rio was able to block it. As they were being followed by the soldiers riding the griffin, he gave Celia to Aisha so they could escape while Rio fought those chasing them. Rio fought Alfred but he hesitated to use all his strength because he was trying to avoid someone be killed. Alfred used the power of his sword and caused a lot of damage to the affected area but this gave Rio a chance to escape. When he arrived to meet Celia, they suddenly saw strange magic appeared in different areas. When those disappeared, Aisha felt that someone needed help, so she told Rio about it. It turned out to be people from the time of Haruto and Endo. Surprisingly, it's not just memories that were transported there, but also the bodies. When Rio arrived, he heard someone spoke the language that Haruto used. So he immediately defeated the bandits who attacked the newcomers. After he saved them, he was shocked to see Iase Miharu, the woman he loved, in the carriage. I hope you like this video. Please remember to hit the like button if you enjoyed the story of Rio.